On November 14, 2009, police discovered a car on fire in South Haven, Michigan. Close to the car was the burnt body of 25-year-old Brandon Silverlight. Brandon had been stabbed multiple times. His throat had been slit. He had blunt force trauma to his head. His head, arms, and mouth had been duct taped. And he had been set on fire while he was still alive. Homicide investigators soon learned that Brandon was married and turned their attention to his pregnant wife, Jennifer. She was quickly eliminated from the investigation, but told detectives that she and Brandon had had an open relationship. One of the women he had been dating was Allison Martin. When police got Brandon's phone records, they showed that he had been planning to meet up with Martin for a three-way the previous night and had never returned home. Investigators questioned Martin, who claimed that she hadn't seen Brandon in over a year and was now engaged. Police then honed in on her fiancé, Justin Terpstra. When detectives confronted Terpstra, he insisted that he had nothing to do with the murder, but he had burn marks on his arms. After police pointed that out, Terpstra crumbled, admitting that he had been involved in the murder. He claimed he acted alone, but investigators weren't convinced. Believing that the murder was actually masterminded by Allison, police bring Justin in for formal questioning.
You're killing me.
Last chance I want to have any simple pleasure in life.
I don't know of anybody here that smokes, but just go ahead and have a seat. And we're going to have to throw some, like I said, we're going to have to throw some regular cuffs on you. The problem is nobody smokes around here anymore. I actually had one on me, a key.
A key?
Yeah. Is that alright?
Check out them Walmart specials, man.
Alright. Let me hook you up here. Okay, I'm gonna go hit the head and some other thing, and I'll be right back with you, okay?
What's the password?
Thank you. Please open the door. How you doing? You doing okay?
Nice table.
Well, since we've changed settings, I need to read your rights again, okay?
Why don't you sit there? Let me sit there if I'm going to write stuff down and remember stuff.
It'll work.
Thank you.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have you present with you with. You have the right to have him present with you before or during any questioning. If you want a lawyer but cannot afford and want to be appointed to represent you at public expense, if you waive your right to remain silent later wish to stop answering questions, the questions will stop. If you waive your right to have a lawyer present and later change your mind, the question will stop until you talk to a lawyer. All right, you've heard those once before today, correct? Okay, and that was when we were at the reception center over in Jackson, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, this is going to be a little redundant, okay? Actually, it might be a lot redundant, okay? But the problem is I want to make sure that I understand because there's some things that don't quite make sense to me, and I want to make sure that we get them cleared up. Fair enough? Okay. All right. Now, when we were in Jackson at the reception center, we talked about you meeting Brandon, correct?
Yes.
And that was in South Haven. Can you tell me how that all came about again?
I had been using Allison's phone, pretending to be her while I talked to him to try to persuade him to meet me.
Okay, can I ask you real quick? And I'm not gonna try and interrupt you too much. Just let me ask you, how long had that been going on?
I can't say for sure.
Do you have any
Uh,
guess or any idea at all?
2 months maybe.
Okay. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
You know, he'd always find an excuse to put it off coming to Kalamazoo. And,
Is that what you're trying to do? Is get him to come to Kalamazoo?
yes.
Okay.
Finally, I just, figured on if I can't get him to come to me, then I'll go to him.
Okay. And how did you do that?
Using what I knew about him and his sexual tendencies, I persuaded him to meet with me as her.
Okay. What do you mean by when you say his sexual tendencies? What's your?
I mean, from what I understood, that he was a panty chaser,
Okay.
and he liked,
Where did you get your information from?
well, this is all from Allison.
Okay. All right.
She had told me about him after the first time he had contacted her, shortly after we had gotten together.
Okay.
A month and a half, 2 months or so after we had been dating. He had contacted her, and it upset her. I mean, she texted back with him a few times. I'm not exactly sure what she had told him, but she's not a very aggressive person, with confrontation. So, I'm not sure if she, got on his head, leave me the f alone, but, I mean, I got pretty jealous about it.
Okay.
And then, as I started to check her phone when she wasn't around, basically, when she was sleeping, taking a shower, I would go through her phone and make sure she wasn't talking to anybody. And it just so happened that one time that she was sleeping, she wasn't around, but her phone buzzed and it happened to be him, so, I started playing his game with him, trying to get, okay, you're not gonna mess with my woman.
Okay. So when you say it buzzed, was that a text?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if they ever talked on the phone,
Okay.
when I wasn't around or anything.
Okay.
So I started to play this, game with him, and he had a tendency, he wanted, there were certain times when he would text her that I would know to pay attention to her phone to see who might have been calling. And,
Did you get the impression that she was texting him, maybe initiating some of it on her own?
I don't know. The thought had crossed my mind.
Okay. So what happened?
When I knew I couldn't get him to come to Kalamazoo, then I'd have to, if I wanted to settle this, I'd have to go to him. And at this point, with everything that he had said to me, thinking I'm her, it boiled up and boiled up.
What were some of the things that he was saying that caused you so much distress?
See, I was playing along with it, so I mean, it's, he would text something sexual or whatever, how he, would miss getting it on with Allison, and I'd text her back, playing along with it, and sometimes it'd get pretty explicit, and, I play along so that it wouldn't tip him off to anything, but it just, it ate me up inside.
Okay, so how long would these conversations take place?
Sometimes a matter of minutes, sometimes, I'd take, she'd be sleeping and I'd be texting him for anywhere from a couple minutes to maybe an hour or two, I mean, it wasn't,
Was she ever present when you were texting him back?
I don't recall exactly. I mean, it was on her phone that I was doing it, so,
Okay.
I wouldn't think so, because, I mean, if I was trying to hide it from her that I was texting him, and then when it came down to it, I told her that he had to go, that this was going on, and I, told her that I'm gonna get rid of this guy.
Okay, so when you say you've got to go, you're going to get rid of him, what does that mean? I mean, there's a lot of interpretations. What does that mean?
In my mind, I was going to kill him. I didn't tell her that right off the bat.
When did you tell her that?
It was either the day before or the day of.
Okay.
I mean, it was within a few days of actually doing it.
Right.
Because that's when
What'd she say about it?
she didn't want me to go through with it, and I told her it had to be done.
All right. So you lured him to South Haven. How'd you get him there? Where did you have him?
She knows the territory, so I told her to have him meet her somewhere close and follow her back to her parents' travel trailer.
Where's that at?
I don't know exactly. I mean, I just
You've
know.
been there before though, Jay?
I've been there before.
And you picked the spot? You
Right.
picked the travel trailer?
Right. Well, I mean, I had him convinced that he was, that he was going to meet Allison, for, to have a good time, or, sexual favors and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't want her going somewhere of his choosing. So, I just, your parents got that place out there to bring it there and I'll knock him out or whatever.
Okay. So she met him. Where'd she meet him at?
I don't know exactly. I know it wasn't very far. A restaurant or something. It was, I don't know exactly. I just told me, have him meet you and have him follow you back.
Okay. So what was the plan for when she got him back to the trailer?
She was to keep him distracted so that I could come up behind him and hit him with the log.
Where were you at when they arrived?
I was on the other side of the next door trailer, waiting for them. And I crept around once the headlights, the automatic headlights killed off. I crept around and snuck it home.
Then what happened?
I hit him with the log.
He ever see you?
He didn't notice until I hit him that first time.
Where did you hit him?
I tried to hit him in the head, but I must have caught him on the shoulder because it wasn't a solid hit, because if I would have caught him in the head, he probably would have got knocked out.
So it didn't knock him out.
No.
So then what happened?
I swung 3-4 times, and when he was stumbling around, after the third or fourth time hitting him, I grabbed him up and got him in a chokehold, and we ended up wrestling around, and he finally passed out.
We're on the ground at this point.
Yes.
Now you say a club. Can you describe this club? What is it like?
Anywhere about yay big.
Is it round?
Roundish.
Okay.
I wouldn't say perfectly round, but roundish, yeah.
Where did it come from?
I had found it one day. I can't remember if I was doing yard work or if I was walking home or something, but it was right by where we live in Clover Street.
How long was it?
It was 4 feet, maybe 3.5, 4 feet or so.
What you're kind of describing, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is it kind of round in spots and flat on the ends? Do you know what a landscape timber is? It's almost like a 4x4, only it's rounded. The bulk of it's rounded, but then the two ends are flat.
I know what you're talking about. I don't believe it was like that.
Was it similar to that, or?
Similar. One end was flat, as in it had been sawed, and the other end was chipped up, and maybe it had broke off or something.
Did you modify it at all?
No.
You just took it as it was. Okay, so then you choked him out,
Yes.
and this is Where is this at?
This is on the patio of her parents' travel trailer.
That cement slab patio.
Okay, and then what happens?
When I was satisfied that he was actually passed out and he wasn't trying to fake, so I let him go. I jumped up, I grabbed a roll of duct tape that I had set next to the steps. I taped up his hands
How'd you tape up his hands?
behind his back. Wrapped it around his wrist a few times. And I wrapped tape around his ankles. Either in between then or right after then, that was when I first put the tape over his mouth. And then, I put tape around his hands and his ankles a few different times because he kept struggling and it would loosen up. I'd hit him a few times to, keep him from struggling, and I'd wrap him a little bit more with some tape.
Alright. So then what?
At that point, I was pretty satisfied that he was restrained enough, and I went and I searched his pockets. I looked through his wallet, took his car keys, got into his car, just did a quick overview of what was in there. I opened his trunk and began pulling stuff out. I pulled the sub out and the amp and tried yanking some more, because there was more stereo equipment in there. Tried yanking it out, but just, most of it wouldn't come.
You talking about the trunk now of his car?
Yes. At one point, I went back up to the patio to see what was going on. I had told Allison that she needed to watch him and let me know if he tried anything. So she was up there keeping an eye on him while I was emptying out his trunk. At one point, I went up there and noticed that he was trying to get his ankles free. That's when I put tape around his knees, just under his knees. I don't know if it was right at that moment, but what I had mentioned, I put tape around his ankles and wrists several different times, and I probably, at that point, wanted to re-secure him. So.
Did you mention, if you did, I apologize, when did you put duct tape on his mouth?
I put a couple of strips over his mouth right after I had done his ankles and his hands the first time. Then, at some point, I noticed that he was trying to get his mouth open, and he was, trying to scream and whatnot. So that's when I started wrapping it around his head. And I know I did it at least twice, two different occasions, about 3-4 times around his head.
So then what? You got his trunk pretty much emptied out now?
Of anything that I wanted to take out of it, yes.
Okay.
I mean, there was plenty more in his trunk. There were pop bottles and this and that, but I wasn't gonna, for change.
Right.
I wasn't gonna take it,
So you put him in the back of you got him in the trunk?
Yeah, I drove him to the car, put him in the trunk.
Was he conscious at this point?
More or less, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I beat him pretty well with the stick and kicking him in his ribs and whatnot. So, I'm sure he was kind of out of it, but more or less he was conscious.
Okay. So you put him in the trunk, and that would be in his trunk.
In his trunk.
And then what'd you do?
I put him in the trunk. Went back over the patio and everything. There was some rocks that were kicked askew, and I tried to sweep them back up underneath the trailer. Just basically did walk through, made sure I didn't drop anything or leave anything laying around. Allison she needed to follow me, and I got in his car, and we pulled out of the trailer park. I turned right because I'm not familiar with that area, and I know it's basically out in the middle of nowhere next to the freaking lake,
How'd you get around the lock gate?
There's a separate entrance that only has a chain that goes across it. And when we had got there and I saw the gate, I mean, how are we gonna get in there? And Allison told me about the other entrance.
So Allison literally took you there and dropped you off, and then she went to meet you.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
I had her drop me off.
Right.
I told her. And at that point, we had been at her travel trailer for a few minutes, and basically I was, taking the layout, trying to figure out how I was going to come up on this guy. I told her how I was going to do it, that she needed to keep him preoccupied. Basically his attention focused on her so that I could sneak up on him.
Okay. All right. So now you're in the car. She's following you.
I told her to follow me. I turned right out of the trailer park. I headed north because the lake would have been there, so it was north that I went. And I didn't know that it was a dead end road. If I had, I probably would have taken him somewhere else. I don't know why I only went right down the road. But I noticed the 2-track, and I pulled in there, and she pulled in behind me. I had her. We waited because both cars had automatic headlights. You gotta wait for them to shut off. So we stood there for a minute where the lights went out. I told her that she needed to carry the knives and the club, the log, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Because I had to carry him over my shoulder, and I can't hold on to anything else if I'm holding this guy military style,
Mm-hmm.
And so I told her she needed to lead the way with a flashlight, and I'd be right behind her. I don't know exactly how far we went. We went a good distance though, and meanwhile I'm looking. I wanted to take him a decent way from the road, but I didn't see it was necessary to take him miles into the woods. So I noticed a little side trail going off to the side, and I told her to go up the hill. We went, and there was a little bit, some space underneath this tree, surrounded by some brush, and perfect spot to toss his ass down there. So we throw him down.
Is he conscious at this point?
More or less.
Okay.
At this point, he tried to struggle a little bit when he was on my shoulder, but he had to have had some broken ribs and whatnot.
When you put him on the ground, were his eyes open?
Yeah, he was able to focus on me. I don't know if he could see Allison because she was holding a flashlight, and when it's dark and you got a light in your face, you can't see what's behind it.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he could see me though, and
Did you ever speak to him?
he tried.
Could you understand what he was trying to say?
Some of it.
What was he trying to say?
Mostly he was trying to he was pleading for me to take the tape off his mouth so that he could, please. He kept saying please. And I told him there's no point. I said that a few times, there's no point in trying to plead with me.
Okay. So now you get him down on the ground out in that brush. What happens then?
I wanted him. I wanted him to feel pain before he died. I made Allison hold the light on him so that I could see, and I took the knives that we had, and I didn't want to vitally hurt him at that point. I mean, my plan was to kill him, but at that point, I just wanted him to suffer for a little while. I first stabbed him in his left quad.
Did he respond to that?
Oh yeah. He moaned and he started to cry. I'd also taken the steak knife, and not too hard, but I ran it around his face a little bit, basically, trying to scare him.
When you say ran around his face, are you talking like scratching his face or something? Or?
Yes. I mean, I wasn't putting too much pressure on him. I wasn't trying really to cut him. I just wanted him to feel that fear, I did end up cutting him on his head, though, because he did bleed from one of the times I ran, across his face.
Okay.
Stabbed him several times in the legs, and I mean he squirmed around, so I mean I got him from several different angles.
Which knife were you using when you stabbed him in the legs?
At first I was using the butcher knife. Then I used the steak knife, and at some point his shoe and sock came off, one of them, so his foot was exposed. So I used a steak knife and I cut a big gash in his foot.
What part of his foot?
The top of his foot.
Okay. Is he responding every time you do this?
Yes. I can't remember which angle, but I stabbed him in his Achilles tendon on one of his ankles with the steak knife. I remember trying to stab him around his stomach and his right shoulder because he was laying on his left side. But his coat and his shirt, I wasn't, at this point I was just trying to, I wasn't, I was just trying to make him feel pain, so I wasn't really trying to stab too hard, and I must not have put enough into it because it just wasn't going through very well through his jacket. I remember Allison kept asking me if I was satisfied yet. Are you done yet?
So what happened after you couldn't stab him in through his jacket?
I remember at one point I had ripped his shirt open. Try to, get easier access towards his chest and torso. After I just give him these small little stabs. You know, I kicked him a few more times, stomped on his gut and whatnot. At one point I was satisfied that he had felt enough pain, and then all right, I'm done here. I wanted to get out of there. So I stabbed him with the butcher knife in his ribs on his right side. I stabbed him a few times in the same spot. They went in at different angles. The entry point was the same. Not only with just the bush knife, but with the steak knife. And I tried to roll, I remember trying to roll him to his other side. Because at that point I was satisfied. I wanted him to be dead so we could leave. But he wasn't dying quick enough, so I tried to roll him over and come at him from a different angle. At which point I had heard the stab wound in his ribs, gurgling. So I knew that I punctured a lung. So I knew he was going to die. He wasn't dying quick enough. And I think it pissed me off that he wasn't dying quick enough, and he put up as much struggle because I took the stick and I hit him in the face several times. Couple more minutes of pain for him. He was gonna die anyway. But I hit him several times towards this side of his face, and from
And when we talked to you before, you mentioned that you cut his throat or tried to cut his throat.
I'm not at that part yet.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Since he wasn't dead, I didn't want to leave him there still fighting for his life, by himself, while I went and got the gas. So I told Allison to go back to the car, grab the gas can and a lighter, which she left to go do. Now, while she was gone, I let my eyes adjust to the darkness so that I could at least, see him. I could still hear him breathing. He wasn't struggling very much. I think I tried to roll him over a few more times and, come at him from different angles. I do remember I did get him in the back of his ribs on his left side with the steak knife. And I had used the steak knife and stabbed him a few more times. And at which point he wasn't dying fast enough for my satisfaction. So that's when I don't know which side I did first. I can't remember how he was laying, but I sliced his neck on one side, and at some point he rolled to the other side and still wasn't dying. So I sliced his neck, and it was dark, and I tried to put enough pressure on it to, catch something vital. I knew he was gonna die. He just wasn't bleeding fast enough. So maybe if I cut his throat, the process would be quicker.
Jay, did you tell him why he had to die? Did you tell him what he had done?
When Allison went back to the car, I did say something still.
What'd you tell him?
I told him that he would never be able to hurt anyone ever again. And even before that, at some point, Allison might have been standing there or not, but I had called him names and whatnot, piece of shit, son of a bitch, that he had deserved to die a long time ago. I could tell he was trying to plead, even with the duct tape over his mouth. I told him that, there's no point. You're not going to live through this night. I don't recall if I exactly said you're going to die. I'm doing this because you tried to get with my girl. I don't know if I specifically said it like that. I basically let him know that he was going to die because he was a bad person. And he had hurt too many people, and I wasn't going to let him go on to do it again.
Thank you.
So,
Allison's gone.
Allison's gone to get the gas.
I could tell he was about to die because his breathing became strained, and it slowed, but it was deeper, like he was, struggling to get his last breaths in. And at that point, she had been gone. In my opinion, she had been gone too long. So I pulled my phone out and I called her, to find out what's going on. Why are you taking so long? She said she couldn't find the lighter. I said, well, I can't come back right now because he's not dead yet. Just keep looking. I'll stay on the phone with you for a minute, which I did, and she couldn't find a lighter, and she was pretty frantic at that point. I just involved her in something pretty heinous, and she wasn't taking it too well. I don't know how long I was on. A few minutes, I was trying to keep her comforted, not freak out while she was looking for this lighter. I told her, this dude's almost done anyway. I'll be back. I'm coming back. So I got off the phone and, I was satisfied that he had died at that point. So I ran back to the cars, and she had already told me that she couldn't find a lighter in my leather jacket, so I didn't even try looking in there. I was tossing things around the back seat, thinking that maybe it fell out of my pocket, and I'd see it laying on the back seat, but trying not to touch anything with my hands inside my sleeves. Flipping things around, I couldn't find the lighter, so I looked underneath the front passenger seat, finally found one, and I took the gas and the lighter. I told her to go back to the gate and put the chain back up. So she got in her car and she pulled out. I took a flashlight, the gas, and the lighter back to where he was. I had stuck the knives in the ground. When I left, I had stuck them in the ground, so I pulled them out and set them off to the side while I poured gas on him. put a trail of gas to light from a distance, a couple feet away. But when I lit it, it didn't go all the way to him. There was, splashed or something, and there was a gap in the path. So I kicked that out real quick, poured more gas on him, lit another path, lit that. He went up. He ignited, went up in flames. I grabbed the knives, the gas can. I ran back to the car, and I set the knives on the floorboard or passenger seat or something with the gas can. And I tried to start the car, put it in reverse. It wouldn't go, the front wheels were spinning. I put it in forward, tried to rock it, it wasn't going anywhere. So I called her again and told her she needed to come back. And she came back, she parked on the road. I told her that the car was stuck. I can't remember exactly, but she might have asked me what I wanted to do. I was just, at that point, I'm just pondering, okay, I got this dude's dead body, I don't want to leave the car right here. But I didn't know how to get it out of there. I didn't think to have her try to pull up to it and push it out, anything, I didn't know. So, after a minute or so, just thinking about it, I said, I'm gonna torch it right here. And told her to turn around and pull down the road some ways. And then, basically watch for me coming. I was gonna light the car on fire and I'm gonna run to the car. Now she pulled down the road quite a ways. And, I poured gas throughout the inside of the car. I had made, before she left, I made her take the knives because I didn't want to leave them there. When she took them, she put them in the glove box. I didn't find out until later, but she had put them in the glove box. Poured gas throughout the car. Put a trail of gas coming out the passenger, or the driver's side rear door. When I lit it, it didn't go up, same situation with the body. It didn't reach all the way to the car. So I tried to use the gas can to throw gas to where it would, hit the car and hit the grass that was on fire so that it would catch the whole car. But it wasn't working. So I went around to the passenger rear door. Poured a trail of gas coming out of there, lit that, and the car went up. No problem that time. I ran down the road with the gas can and flashlight. I had seen the brake lights were quite a ways down the road, so I tried flashing the flashlight to try to get her attention, to know that she needed to come back. I'm running, I can't really pull my cell phone out and say, hey, you're too far down the road. And, at that point, that's when the adrenaline that I did have wore off, and, I was drained. I finally got to the car, and, I had to pop the hood, put the gas can in the hood, or in the trunk. I got in. So we were driving down the road, and I told her, no, this didn't happen, never speak of this again. I was very harsh how I told her,
She driving?
Yes.
Jay, what happened to the club?
The club, it had to, I didn't take it with me from it had been laying close to the body. I mean, I remember using it to hit him in the head a couple times. I don't remember taking it back to the car. If I had taken it back to the car, I probably threw it in the back seat or something. That's the thing I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure I left it laying near the body.
So now you get home.
Well, we didn't talk very much on the ride home. For the next 20 minutes, I mean, I'm a smoker, so running that distance to the car, and then all of a sudden your adrenaline just stops working. My lungs were shot, and I was just hacking and hacking and hacking for 20 minutes, coughing my brains out, you know. And finally, my lungs stop hurting. We didn't barely talk the whole ride home. I remember I didn't want to touch anything because I knew I had blood on me and blood on my hands, so I kept as still as possible for the whole ride home. We got home and we walked to the back porch. We didn't even go in the front. We walked to the back porch and stripped down everything. Took all her clothes off. And went in the house. I had her unlock the door because she didn't have any blood on her hands or anything. Most of the blood was on me. I don't even know if she got any blood on her. I don't see why she would, unless it maybe on her shoes because she was, the ground got pretty bloody where he was laying. And, but I made her strip down, and I stripped down. We went inside. She quickly threw on some clothes, and I told her to bag up everything we were wearing. Well, I quickly washed up. I had her wash her hands, and I washed my hands, and then, she had put some clothes on. And I told her I was going to jump in the shower real quick and just rinse off, which I did. And I don't know if I did that right when we got home. I had her bag up the clothes. Then we went to the car, and I had her help me wipe the inside of it where, anywhere basically that possibly we may have touched something and gotten, blood or whatever. We basically wiped down the interior of the car with Clorox wipes. At this point, it's a good 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning by the time. But, by the time all was said and done. And neither one of us felt like laying down to try to go to sleep. And I know, an hour and a half, 2 hours passed or so. We, tried to watch a little bit of TV. I smoked a little bit of weed to try to calm my nerves. I remember that I kept telling her that she was never to speak of it to anybody. That it didn't happen.
What you do with your clothes?
I set them inside the back door in the bag, and we would figure out what to do with them. after I got out of work the next day. Because at that point I had figured, okay, it wouldn't even be 24 hours since we did it, so, and there's no guarantee that they would even, I mean, at this point I'm thinking there's no guarantee they're going to find the body. They're going to find a burnt car. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, they're probably going to comb the area. But at that point I was like, I didn't feel like there was a great hurry to get rid of everything. I just knew that had to be done fairly quickly. So the next morning before I went to work, I went to the car. I used a dirty t-shirt that was in the back seat to grab the knives out of the glove box. I grabbed the gas can out of the back. I took that to the back porch. I used Clorox wipes to wipe off the gas can. Put it back where it was next to the lawnmower. The knives that were wrapped up in the shirt, I put underneath the stove, in the drawer underneath the stove. I went to work. I got off 3:30, 3:45-ish. Allison picked me up. We went home. I took my shower for the day. I can't even remember if I did take a shower that day. I mean, we got home 4 o'clock-ish maybe. When I get home, I just want to relax. So I sat down, smoked a couple cigarettes. Probably smoked some weed because we had weed. So when the 5 o'clock news came on, now during the hour or so before the 5 o'clock news, I was basically, I was thinking out loud, but talking about what to do with the other shit. Allison just kept saying, I don't know what you want, we could do this, we could do that. I'm basically just thinking out loud. I wasn't asking her opinion or anything. I just, I knew we had to get rid of any evidence, so. When 5 o'clock came, and right away, one of the first stories was a mysteriously burned car, in Allegan County, which I didn't even know it was Allegan County, that we had crossed the Allegan border. But, at this point, okay, we need to get a move on. So, I put the clothes and the knives in the bathtub, and I took some ammonia that we had and soaked all the clothes and rinsed off the knives with the ammonia, let it sit for a minute, sprayed it all off, tried to rinse it off, put the clothes back in the bag, threw a bunch of moldy leftovers, and we had a thing of bad milk that I threw in there. Just, some bad eggs and whatnot out the fridge. I put it in the bag with it, because, this stuff needs to get out of the fridge anyway, and I was figuring that the nastier what's in the bag, no one's going to want to go looking through it anyway. So, you got dumpster divers and whatnot. So, that was my logic behind that. I took a bandana and wiped off, after I rinsed off the knives, and I took a bandana and wiped them off and wrapped them in it. Then I took his cell phone, which I still had, and took it apart and wiped all the pieces off and put it in a Ziploc bag along with his keys to his car. thought, I had been trying to figure out where to dump all this stuff, Yeah, I mean, I know plenty of back roads through Kalamazoo and Van Buren County, but I kind of wanted to get it as far away from us as possible. So I thought, let's just drive south. Let's go to Indiana. I mean, we ain't got to go far into Indiana. Just, let's take it to a different state. I mean, it's not very far from Kalamazoo to drive to Indiana anyway, Just, put some money in the tank, whatever. And so, as I come up with this idea, it dawns on me that, I got a buddy of mine who lives in Indiana. It's a little farther away than going straight south, but, I hadn't seen him in a while, and also thinking that, if I can have a good friend say that he hung out with me within hours of this I didn't see him any different, that's pretty good character witness in my opinion, something to that effect. So I had called him up, asked him what he was up to. We ain't doing nothing, so, well, we're gonna come on down and hang out for a little while, we're bored, whatever. All right. So we drive down there, and I'm thinking to myself to drive through South Bend until, once we get out of South Bend, get rid of this stuff, and then, double back and go to George's house. But as I was driving through, I'm not familiar with South Bend, and it ends up you got to take some weird turns and whatnot. And while I'm taking those turns, I noticed the river going through South Bend. I don't know what river it is, but I noticed it. So I drove around some neighborhoods looking for a parking spot, and we parked and we walked down to, it must have been a local park or something, and basically just walked up and down the river, and I threw the knives and the pieces of his cell phone and his keys in the river at different intervals. And we went back to the car. We went to George's house. I remember I was constantly telling Allison that she needed to keep her mouth shut. That just didn't happen. I terrified her into helping me do this. A few days before that, I let her know, when I was texting dude, I was like, look, we're going out to South Bend, or South Haven, in a couple days, because I'm going to take care of this guy. And when she wanted to know why, I let her know that, he had hurt you in the past, and now he's trying to, hook up with you. And at this point, I knew that he was dipping out on his wife, and he had been dipping out on his wife. And who else was he dipping out on his wife with? That's just not a good guy. And I knew that, I knew about his past. I knew that he had once been a teacher and used to use that to take advantage of girls. And in my mind, this was just not a good character. And I was going to justify anyone that he ever hurt. I was going to justify their pain.
Justin, I know this has been difficult for you, but I think that I believe about 99% of what you're telling me. Okay, I'm
Just one thing. Just before I went to George's, did you get rid of the clothes and the shoes?
No.
Oh, after George's?
But yes, before we went to George's.
Okay, before we went to George's, yeah.
So we first dropped everything in the river.
yeah. Okay.
And then
Yeah.
on the way back towards George's, I was looking and I was telling Allison to look for a dumpster that doesn't, that wouldn't look suspicious for someone to throw, to stop and throw something in. And we ended up finding a dumpster that, fit the bill. and we tossed the bag in there.
One other thing, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, but when we were at Jackson at the reception center, we talked about one time you had displayed a card to us and it had the name of an attorney on it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I believe it was Mr. Benson.
Yes.
And I contacted Mr. Benson, and he said that he was not representing you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so then you and I, or the three of us, talked, and at that time, excuse me, at that time, I asked you if you would have any objections to answering some questions, since you didn't have counsel, and you agreed to answer questions. Is that true?
At Jackson today.
Yeah.
You said I said you'd listen to what we had to say.
Yep. Remember you said you would
But
listen?
but I wasn't going to guarantee that I would talk about
Right.
everything.
Right.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. I just wanted to make sure that I don't remember if we talked about that after we got here, but I knew we did in Jackson. I couldn't remember if we talked about that here or not. Okay, gotcha. So you listened to the questions that we had, and then you did talk with us, obviously.
Yes.
Based partly on the fact you want to clear up the picture with George, but in fact you left the speaker with him having no knowledge of where it came from. George is still a good guy.
George is a good guy.
All right.
George is a good guy. Sean's a good guy.
All right.
You know,
Whatever you guys' opinion is, I forced Allison to help me with this.
let me ask you something, okay? First of all, what you're telling us is pretty consistent with what Allison told. But Allison actually admitted to Sean that she stabbed him once.
Twice.
Or twice. Oh, I'm sorry, twice. That she
Couldn't
stabbed
do
him
it
twice.
anymore.
But then she couldn't do it anymore. She actually said that.
And dropped the knife.
And she also said that the reason for this was because when you guys were trying to have relations, sexual relations, that due to the injury that he had inflicted upon her, it made her difficult. It made your guys' intimate time very, very difficult.
She would end up crying.
And that's what this is really and truly all about.
Okay.
So she did tell us that, and so we do know that that's really and truly what this is all about. I mean, maybe some of that other is true too, but the fact that she has this issue with the HPV, and she may end up with cancer, and she'd lost her baby, that'd be very, very upsetting. And I think that's what this is really all about, isn't it?
He
In a
stole
way,
from
yes.
you.
I'm sorry?
In a way, yes.
Okay, so it is about that.
It's a combination of things, Jay.
When it comes down to it, I knew about him before he contacted her. We got together. I mean, we clicked pretty. Right off the bat, we clicked real good, and we got to know each other in our past real well, real quick. And I knew about her past complications with, her ex Ryan. I guess they had a miscarriage or something
Okay.
at one point. And she had, I knew about her past abusive relationships. I mean, not only just with Brandon, but, several others
Mhm.
that, I don't think too highly of them, but those others, I didn't feel they deserved to die. But Brandon was.
Did she think Brandon was responsible for the HPV?
I don't know for sure.
But you don't know, but did she blame him? Was that your feeling, that she held him responsible?
Did you hold him responsible?
I held him responsible for. I don't know if exactly for the HPV, but I held him responsible for a lot of other things.
What about this? This is the scenario that I really think is what brought this all to a boiling point. Like I said before, the fact that she has HPV, She has a precancerous condition. She's pregnant. She loses a baby, and he's texting her saying his wife is pregnant and going to have a baby here.
Yeah, that pissed me off.
That didn't set well, did it?
No, it didn't.
So
that comes into play.
that's quite a bit of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they can have a kid and you can't.
Yeah.
Your baby, you lose your baby, and they're going to have one. Isn't that really and truly what this is all about? And
Partly, yeah.
and Allison is upset too. And she's upset because she can't have a baby, and she has this HPV, and although she may not be as responsible for the injuries, it's not like you originally said that you threatened her. She wanted some revenge too, didn't she? She's got some issues. She's got some health issues. She could potentially have cancer. She could be dying herself. But isn't that what this is really and truly all about, Justin? She's angry.
I was.
She's angry too. She lost a baby.
Yeah.
Well, Justin, you guys said you clicked right from the get-go, and that you guys were doing really good. And a couple of things I read. One of the poems you wrote.
Are you on the lobby?
One of the poems you wrote is, I'm your Clyde and you're my Bonnie. Bonnie and Clyde to the end. You remember writing that? You remember writing a poem like that?
In a small bit.
Yeah. Okay. I think...
Well, at that point, it was just a figure of speech.
I understand. I understand that. But what I think happened here is that you guys did seal your relationship. Or seal your relationship forever. And I think that she went to help you. If you were backing her, she was backing you. And I believe what she told Sean to be true. I believe that she stabbed him twice. And I believe she told him the truth, and she dropped the knife.
She's not going to admit to doing something like that if she didn't do it. There's just no way.
But this sealed you guys together forever. It was a bond that no one could ever break. Marriage vows or no marriage vows. That you went to seek justice together.
And in your minds, you had every right and reason to do it.
But what we want to put on the record here with you is your role. But a half-truth's a lie. And if you try to fudge and say, I did all this, then when it comes time for us to make these fact-finding statements, we're like, well, this much we can back, but we can't back it all because he wasn't truthful here. I believe I believe that she stabbed him twice. And I believe that she dropped the knife and says, I can't do this. No matter how I'm hurt by him, no matter how much he deserves this, I can't do it. But you already said he was going to die when I got there to begin with, and you just finished what was set out. But I believe that she stabbed him twice. She wouldn't tell Sean that if it wasn't true.
You guys both went there with the intentions on killing him, and there's no doubt about that. And that she did in fact stab him. It's just a question at what part in this did she stab him? Did she stab him first? Because I believe that's what she told Sean, was that she stabbed him twice.
And dropped the knife. And then, something simple as 2 knives.
Yeah.
Why do you need 2 knives?
You don't need 2 knives.
One guy can do fine with 1 knife.
Yeah.
That's how the other knife ends up there.
So just tell us. I mean, she's already admitted that. So, and we're not making it up because it's the truth. And we haven't told you. We have not been dishonest with you about anything, Justin. And so just tell us about that. Then if you tell us about that, and then I know you have some questions for us.
I can't.
You can't tell us she did it.
I can't.
I'm going down for this. I'm going down for this.
Well,
She is too.
We're not trying to make this worse.
no.
We're not trying to make this worse. But all we want is closure. We just want the closure of what happened. She has more involvement than what you're giving us.
She's already admitted it.
You know why? Because it's eating at her as much as it's eating at you. Sean also said that she wants to tell her part because she can't take it anymore. You got to help her on this one part. You got to step up and say what the roles were, and we'll put closure to this, and we'll be done. This is the worst part that you got to do, Jay. But you just got to say what her role is. You got to man up for this one, man. You got to help her one more time.
She's already done it.
You got to put it.
Justin, she's already told Sean. She's already told Sean.
She went over there, had to get away from her dad because her dad was drinking and jacking around on Thanksgiving. I don't know if he hit her or pushed her or something, but something went wrong. She went to jail. She spent the night, Sean. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I knew she went there for the holidays.
She got out of the house. She goes over there. Why? Because she's cleansing her soul. She's saying, this is what happened. She even said what kind of knife. It was a Cutco knife that she used to sell Cutco. And it was out of her sample set that no one would notice the knife missing because you could use whatever type of samples you wanted. You know, I mean, what's going to happen here is there's two knives. It's like one guy shooting two guns. It don't happen. One's got one gun, one's got the other one.
You know,
That's all there is to it.
what you're trying to do is, in your mind, a very noble thing. But the problem being is that no, you're trying to take the fall for her, and she's already taken her own fall. So just tell us, at what point did she
I
start?
can take it away.
I'm sorry?
If I go up there and I put it out there like this and her lawyer fights for her that she didn't do nothing,
Unfortunately, she already
that's
said it.
That's not the case. She's already said it.
how is it?
She's already admitted it, Justin.
She told.
Alright,
Justin,
I'm not saying she did. I'm not saying she did or she didn't, but she admitted to okay, she supposedly admitted it to someone of no authority. Is she on tape that she said that? Has she written it out?
She said it to a person which is called a witness.
and she said it to one of your best friends. And your best friend's not going to lie about that.
Yes, he won't lie on you. He says, I love him, I got his back,
But
I
I won't
can't do this.
perjure myself,
I can't perjure myself.
quote unquote. That's
So
exactly
if he's
what I
not going
said.
to perjure himself on you, he's not going to perjure himself on Allison.
Because
So
you're
if
his
he's-
friend.
So if he said that she said to him she stabbed him twice, he's not going to lie. All I want's the truth.
Just answer one thing, and we'll leave it at this. Is it true when she told Sean that she stabbed him twice, and we'll just let it go at that.
And that she dropped the knife and couldn't do it anymore.
Is that a true statement?
How about this? I told her she had to stab him.
No, you know
No.
what?
That try.
Hold on. I threatened her that she didn't
Okay,
stab him.
all right. You said how about it? I ain't got it. Okay, it's a great try.
I like that, Jay.
Okay, you know
That's
what?
good.
It's really a great try. Okay, and I know that it breaks your heart, but she let the cat out of the bag. She did.
Yeah, because she had to.
So let's just
She couldn't take it.
yes or no, a true statement that she stabbed him.
And then dropped the knife because she couldn't.
She's got an axe to grind to them too.
And couldn't do it anymore.
You got a piece of there. You go.
And couldn't do it anymore.
All right. True statement.
Is this being recorded?
Yes.
I
I can't say. I can't do it.
Well, you basically, the bottom line is this. You know what? In all honesty, your demeanor and how you did things and how you handled it. I mean, understand you didn't say yes, and I understand you said no, but you have all but admitted that that's the case. So.
Jay, we're not here to, Jay, everything we have told you has come true. Everything we have told you.
She didn't stab. I want to go on record to say she didn't stab.
Okay. Okay. You can't look at me and say that, but you can look at the ground and say
It
that.
doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth, but you can go on the record as saying that. Okay.
That's fair enough.
So it's recorded. Okay. All right. I guess at this point I don't have anything else. You had some questions for us, and what are those, Jay?
Oh, this is gonna be redundant for my end. I need a freaking cigarette. There's no way you guys can help me out.
I don't
smoke.
I don't smoke, and I don't know of anybody here that smokes. I really
The two
don't.
sergeants we walked past too, when we
They
came
don't
in,
smoke.
both of us, neither one of them smoke. Anything other than the redundant cigarette question? You want to drink the water or anything? Yeah? How come no ice?
Get more.
You get
Doesn't
more
get
pop
watered,
or
or it doesn't get watered down.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That's good.
Well,
See, that's what I'm saying. I know what I'm talking about,
Some
and I know
people-
you stabbed him too.
Some
so.
people don't like it because if they got a bad tooth or something, the ice gets them.
All right.
I'm just curious if you had a bad tooth or something.
Sometimes the one in the back hurt.
All right. So she's telling the truth.
You had some more questions?
So she has been charged.
She's been
Yes.
charged.
What has she been charged with?
She's been charged with open murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
Have I been charged?
There is a warrant for your arrest for the same thing. When we say you've been charged, she is here. She has been.
It's been
Yes, she has been.
There's no way that I can say it.
No. You only can tap through the walls. Maybe there might be a common cell, you don't tap through the
You
walls.
both have been charged with open murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Okay?
Okay.
Anything else?
I had a million questions on the car ride.
I'll tell you, how about if we do this, Jay? How about if we run you back, we'll pull you back out again tomorrow morning, and then you can ask us anything you want.
If you got something, but if you got, we got 5 minutes. We're not trying to.
No, not at all.
It's been a long day. We've been pushing hard. You know, is there something that you'd like to ask? And please do.
I don't know how your guys at jail run. Am I going to be able to use a phone?
What you have to do is you're going to have to either get a phone card, or you're going to have to be able to call somewhere that will accept your calls.
Yeah, but we're not going to deprive you of phone. When you go back there, you can use your phone.
Yeah, we don't care. But it's probably pretty much the same setup, I think, probably in Kalamazoo as is here. I don't know for a fact, but
Was
I mean, we're certainly not going to block your calls if that's what you're asking.
No, you may use the phone. And you're going to be here with us for a while.
The only thing that I would suggest you do, if you're going to call Sean or George or anybody,
Don't talk
don't
about
do
the
anything
case.
stupid, okay?
Uh,
I mean, because they
I
struggle.
involved them
Exactly.
too much.
That is exactly right. That is your fault.
Don't talk case. Talk about, if you got to call, just say, bro, I love you.
That is
And
exactly right.
how's the weather? And that's about it, please. You know what I'm saying?
You talk to them. We're not telling you. Just what we don't want you to do is get into a situation where you call them and you get mad at them, and things get out of hand. Because both of them still think they love you. They truly. I mean, they're like they say he's like my brother. I love him. But I'm gonna tell you know what? I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I want you. All right. How good a friend is Sean to you?
Sean's a great.
How good?
He's a good man.
All right. He's like a what to you? What is he to you? Like a brother, right? Yeah, that's what he said. Now listen, I want you to put yourself in Sean's shoes right now. I'm Sean, okay? I'm Sean. And I'm talking to you. Sean, or Jay, I'm Sean. You need to be honest, and you need not to take full responsibility for this, because it's not all your fault. It is not all your fault, and you know he'd tell you that because I'm sure he's already told you that, hasn't he?
When he talked to us the last time, Jay, and when he was standing in the kitchen, he cried. And even after everything that he said that he knew about, that you had done something wrong, he looked right at us and said, he's not a bad man, he's a good person, he's my friend.
And he would tell you, as would George, people that probably care more about you than anybody else in this world. They would tell you to tell the truth. And to tell the truth about Allison, and you know they would.
It's not.
Tell the truth.
You know what's though?
What's that?
Is that both my real brothers,
Yeah.
well, both of them would be mad that I didn't think this fully through.
Okay.
But both of them would probably, yeah. You know, I mean, you going down, you take the fall. I mean, that's just how we are, though.
Well, but
I
you know
understand
what?
that.
You've got two best friends out there that are probably better than your brothers.
Thinking it through, Jay, means thinking what's right is right and what's fair is fair. And you've got a part of this to eat, part of responsibility. But there's no reason in the world you to cross that line and to take more responsibility here than you have.
She's already taken the responsibility for her part.
And again, one of the first things we talked about today when we were at Jackson, I said, you didn't know this guy. You wouldn't know him if you fell over him. True? So it does start with you backing Allison's play. You went there because you didn't want her to be hurt again. You didn't want him stepping in on ruining your relationship. She had turned the corner. You had turned the corner. He comes in. He's interloping. He's stepping in. He's hurt people. The high school thing you're correct about. You are correct about that. We're aware of that. But the thing is, as much as you were helping her at that time, she was helping you. She was helping you. I'm your Bonnie. You're my Clyde. You did this together. She was out there because she was supporting you. She was also had her axe to grind with this guy.
2 people, 2 knives.
Takes 2 to tango. And that's it. We're not saying that there's some master plan of 100 years that she's doing this or she's doing that. What we're saying is that when the heat of the moment happened and it was going on, that she stabbed him twice. That she then dropped the knife and said, I can't do this anymore. I believe that as I looked at Sean's eyes with the tears running down around his nose ring. That he was being truthful, which he was being truthful about. Okay?
Just at what point did she stab him first twice and then that was it and then you took over?
I can't disclose it.
Okay, I'll tell you what, fair enough.
Okay.
All right, then this is what we're gonna do, okay? You're obviously gonna be here all night, obviously. If you would like, we can pull you back out in the morning, because you said you have a million questions.
Maybe it's gonna
Okay.
You think if you get some time to sit down and get the wheels to slow down, we'll talk tomorrow morning. We come in around 7, we got a briefing, so it'll be 8-ish.
Yeah, it'll be sometime
In the morning.
early to mid-morning.
No.
Okay?
Alright, wait.
Okay, so
When we should be arraigned pretty soon.
yes,
You'll
sir.
be arraigned tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then be arraigned and we'll have a prelim,
Pre-trial.
pre-trial,
Yeah, you're right. Go.
Yeah.
which I know that can take a while sometimes.
I can tell you that right now you're scheduled to be arraigned tomorrow. You have a pre-exam conference on Thursday, and then a preliminary hearing either the 14th, 15th, or 16th, as of right now.
And usually those.
Can I get rid of these?
Usually, Jay, what happens when something as serious as this, they'll waive that time period, because dude, we did 40 search warrants. I mean, somebody's gonna review all that, so usually they waive that. So you'll be here with us for a while.
So we'll pull you back out in the morning, and you can ask whatever questions you ask, and then I would strongly urge you to think about.
You're not.
Now,
Go ahead.
now you have a confession,
Yes.
so there's no point in me trying to take anything to trial.
We can't give you legal advice.
No.
You're gonna get an attorney assigned to you tomorrow, and then you'll meet with that attorney, and then you talk it over with him.
Yeah. If you noticed how many times we've talked, you've never seen us being in a rush about anything. This is no rush to run over you. Okay. This will slow down. You'll get there's some checks and speed bumps to slow this thing down, so to make sure that you're on board with what's going on. Okay. And we'll talk again.
We'll talk.
All right, we'll pull you out in the morning.
Since this is the same crime, will we be heard separately on it?
Yeah, because you both have standing. Both have to look at things a little differently. Well, again, a person is representing you, not her. He's your best interest. Her attorney, her best interest.
The other thing
And
too,
that has to be that way.
Jay, and I know I've told you this probably 50 times. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that her attorney called 2 days after and was trying to work a deal. Okay?
Pre-charged.
Before the charges were even issued.
I've
So you
never
need
heard
to
of
think
that.
about that.
I've never heard of that.
Okay, will her attorney get all this information about my confession?
It's called through discovery, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
As well as your attorney will get everything on through of hers.
it's called mutual discovery. But the thing is obviously this is going to be all typed out and then. Okay, don't take the people say. We don't write anything now. We can't write all this crap out. We get it on a tape recorder, goes to the secretary, she transcribes it comes back to us, we sign off. And then for this one, we'll do the subs first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. We'll hand carry it over and get it included in what we already have. But there are times when we just got to get our paperwork straightened out. But your attorney will get a copy of what we've talked about here tonight. And her attorney will get this also, yes. Through what's called discovery. He has to request it. But but that's
Right.
So
Well,
we do.
he's a paid attorney, so he's gonna go the extra mile.
Well, he's going to go the extra mile, but unfortunately, he can go a long mile, but unfortunately, there's just so many things that are, there's also a thing called cut your losses. You know what I mean? I mean, if you see this big a hill, and you can go around the hill, why are you going to be charging up that hill? That is straight what Pat said. He called in pre-charged looking for a deal. I have never heard of that. Usually most paid attorneys will just simply wait and say, if you get arrested, I guess maybe then we'll think about talking. He called in. We hadn't even charged. He just knew. He had an idea what we knew. Or had an idea what, for example, the text messages. He had an idea what was on there, some other thing. So, it's a difficult situation. And again, we're not, that's one thing I hope you understand, Jay, is, especially with dealing with me, I don't get in a hurry. I'll sit and talk. I'll research. I'll look at things. I just don't, this thing didn't manufacture itself in a short period of time. We can't leap to a conclusion what happened in a short period of time. We got to look at everything to be fair and to be accurate. Is that cool? All right.
So,
Ask me, man.
I don't know, you might not know this, but what it boils down to is that I'm obviously never getting out of prison. I don't want to say the same thing for her. I don't know what we
Right.
had with her.
Okay.
But during our stay,
Mm-hmm.
because we were involved in the same case, will they prevent contact between us? let's say, you know, I get convicted, she gets convicted, and she's doing her time in a woman's prison, I'm doing my time in a man's prison. Now, I know that it's not against the rules to write to someone in a woman's prison, but since we are involved in the same crime,
That would be DOC rules. That's not my rules.
right.
No, let's just take case A. Case A, person gets convicted. They leave here. As a sheriff's detective, my little boundaries is Allegan County.
Right, you have no authority over
No,
that.
and I don't want to. No, I'm just good with, if we can work through this, find out what happened here, get our facts, get a picture, get closure for the family. I mean, obviously, this guy made mistakes. This guy, I know about the high school thing where he was tripping on the little girls, using his position to recruit, right? Let's use the term recruit. I know that. But he's got some good family, and they deserve closure. They need to know. They deserve to know what happened, and that's what. It's weird. It does make a difference. It does make a difference.
Now, because yeah, I mean, like you had said earlier, I mean, we are now tied together deeper than anything could tie us.
Oh yes.
Because of this, so I mean, I'm not even 25 yet. I don't turn 25 for another 12 days.
18th.
So, it's going to be a long time going through this.
Mm-hmm.
And I still love her, and apparently I'm getting a feeling she still loves me. And I'm just wondering, because if we won't be able to contact, I mean, yeah, we'll have our families, but,
Mm-hmm.
we're still tied together. So, I mean, it would be able, at least be able to write back and forth to each other. Maybe we can.
Well, I agree that you are tied by bonds that 90% of the people, 99% of the people will never know. And that would be a DOC rule, and it's not something that Pat or I would author on, would write a letter or anything on. If their rules are that as long as you're a model inmate and you're doing your thing, and she's a model inmate, and there's no violations or rules there, I don't see. I mean, if there ain't no rule against it, man, there ain't no rule against it.
I know it's not against the rules to write other inmates. I mean, because I'd have on my first bit, I'd have buddies that I've locked with for a year and a half, go to a different joint, stay corresponding,
Mm-hmm.
and that there's female prisoners who somehow get and they correspond with other male prisoners.
Well, if that's a DOC rule, then there's nothing we're going to block. Okay.
Right. Well, I'm just wondering because of it's the same.
Well, I don't know. I guess if you, let's say that you did a B&E bit and with another guy, and you go to Ionia and he goes to Brooks, can you write him?
See, I've heard of what they call them rappies or whatever. I've heard of rappies staying in contact.
Right.
They took the fall together and they still stayed in contact because they were friends on the outs and whatnot.
Well, we're not just from me to you. We're not involved in that, and we're not blocking it. Deal? Anything else, Jay?
Are we going to be in this building
Yes.
for the duration of this?
Yes. Well, yes. We rented you out because the writ read arraignment, pre-trial conference, and prelim. Now, I can't believe we wouldn't.
How we doing?
We're just talking about nuts and bolts. Writ's arraignment, pre-trial, and prelim. And then I would think they would stay. I don't think we would return him back on a writ. Well,
I can't imagine that would be silly.
Is this the county jail?
yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, we kind of brought you through the wash garage instead of the sally port. That's the reason you didn't see the big bay coming up in the.
Well, it did. From now outside, it didn't look too big, so.
It ain't.
It's about 180 beds, so.
It's a county jail. It's not a bad place.
All right.
Alright,
We
let's
got some
walk
people
you,
waiting for us, so.
let's walk you back. And we'll pull you up more.
You want some more of this before I throw it away?
We'll yank it one more time. Yep.
Is this your glove?
Yeah, it does. It's cool.
The next day, investigators bring Justin Terpstra back for another round of questioning.
It's small. It's only recent there.
Okay. Well, once again, we get to start off with the old Miranda, okay?
Good morning.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to him. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you before or during any questioning. If you want a lawyer but cannot afford one, will be appointed to represent you before any questioning at public expense. You waive your right to remain silent. Later, stop answering questions. Questions will stop. If you waive your right to have a lawyer present and later change your mind, then questioning will stop until you've spoken to a lawyer. Okay? Obviously, we had a couple of conversations yesterday, and one was in Jackson, one was here, and basically the only undecided thing that we have, or the only unresolved, I should say, the only unresolved matter that we have is Allison. Okay, and we need to talk about Allison, and Jay, when we look at everything, when we look at the text messages, and we didn't talk about this last night, but you say that you're the one that's running the text messages back and forth. It's awfully funny because here you if this is you're text messaging Brandon, and 2 minutes later, Allison's mom. So you're talking to mom too? Is that what you're alleging?
Paint chips and coming over with paint chips and
they just
I don't have a paintbrush and
that just doesn't make sense. And we just need to get this stuff straight. And you know what? As we talked before, it's over. It's done. We already know. And honestly, you're not going to do any harm to Allison. She's already harmed herself with respect to her case. She's already admitted it. And it really doesn't matter who she admitted it to. It doesn't matter if it's a police officer. It doesn't matter, because you know what? The court actually has an instruction that you are to give each and individual witness the same credibility, the same weight as whether they're a police officer or a common citizen. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's recorded. It doesn't matter if it's not recorded. So his testimony will carry just as much weight as mine, as Len Mathis is here, as anybody else, that they choose to decide how credible they are. And Sean is going to be credible. He's going to be credible.
because especially which will speak to him, is how difficult it was for him to tell us. The last thing he wanted to do was to feel that he betrayed you or let you down, or he felt that he betrayed. But the weight of that friendship, that kinship to you people, and the weight of what happened, it was just too much. He said, this was a human life. I can't carry that burden. I can't pick them over right. And he came forward, and he cried. He stood in his kitchen with us and bawled. And at one point had to stop, turn around, give me a minute, and had to choke down a glass of water. But then turned around and said, his favorite word, perjure. I won't perjure myself. I won't perjure myself for Jay. I won't perjure myself. That just speaks to his character. And you know his character. We're not telling you anything about Sean that you don't know. You know him better than us. And when he stands there and cries and says that, there is no doubt in our mind that he is being 100% truthful with us. He's been 100% truthful with you too, hasn't he?
And the other thing is too, toward the end of our conversation last night, you know, when we were talking about Allison's participation and stuff, and you sat there and you said, well, how about, you know, it's kind of like, well, will you buy this? And you know what, you know, it was a little lighthearted, but in all honesty, you know, we need to know Allison's participation. We know, there's no doubt with the text and the other things that have gone on, that she helped you plan this. She's every bit as angry as you are. And I think you're angry, but I think she's more angry than you are. And I think that anger from her transferred over to you because it was making life difficult. And so we know that she's more involved in it than you are initially. I mean, yes, you primarily carried it out, but she's every bit as guilty as you are. And it, quite honestly, it doesn't even matter if she stabbed him or not. The bottom line is, it's all premeditated. She participated in luring him there. It's just like the example that I always use is that if him and I rob a bank, I'm the driver, he goes in and robs the place, I'm the driver, I don't even go in. I'm just as guilty as he is for bank robbery. You understand that?
I got the mask and the machine gun, they charged me with bank robbery. He's sitting outside, gun in the engine, they charge him with bank robbery. Doesn't make any difference. That's Michigan law. There is no second party. Everything's first party. If you do, you do.
So we need to know what participation Allison had. So that way we have 100%, we have the entire picture.
I think, go ahead, yeah, I'm sorry. I just think that she was doing some of the texting and that you found out going into it, because you said, you know, that he wouldn't come to Kalamazoo. Some of the texts was, I'm available to come to Kalamazoo. I'll be in Kalamazoo for lunch. I'll be, you know, can we get together here? Can we get together, you know, there? So he was volunteering to come to Kalamazoo at one point early on, around the 8th, 9th, and the 10th in there. So we know that from the texting. The thing is that I think then you came on board and discovered some things, and it's like, he's got to go. He's got to go. And that's how this got rolling. But
What were you going to say?
Can I ask some questions before it?
sure.
Go ahead.
Sure.
No, we were both being charged with open murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
Yes, sir.
What does that carry?
Well, it depends. Open murder leaves the jury the opportunity, or judge or jury, whichever way you prefer to go, the opportunity to come back with either guilty of first-degree murder or guilty of second-degree murder. That just gives them the option, okay? And that's why we charge that way. We don't charge specific first-degree. We charge it open murder so that the jury can come back however they think, whatever they think is appropriate, okay?
Okay. And it will be up to a judge or a jury to decide whether it'll be life without or
Whatever you choose. You have the option of choosing a jury trial or a bench trial, which is a trial by judge. That's up to you. You have that choice. And yes, it is up to the trier of fact, be it a jury or a judge.
I'm set to be arraigned this afternoon.
Yes.
I don't know what to say in front of them.
Oh, all it is that, you mean as far as when they tell you what the charges are and how do you plead?
Yes.
That's entirely up to you. We can't tell you how to plead, okay?
Right.
We're not, we're not attorneys. We cannot tell you how to plead. You just have to plead however you think, or whatever you think is the right thing to do.
Do you know what would happen if I pled no contest?
If you stand mute and don't say anything, if you play no contest on this type of charge, I would believe that they would enter not guilty.
They'll enter a
and
not guilty,
for-
and then we're going to jump through the hoops. And if you continue to plead no contest throughout the whole thing, eventually they will use the basis of the police report and any other information that is involved in that to find out whether you're innocent or guilty. And if you are guilty, what you're guilty of.
Yeah, Okay, so yeah, if you stand mute and don't say anything, then you're not guilty. If you plead no contest, because of the nature, the seriousness of the charge, Jay.
So what, Allison, she didn't send those texts, did she? I mean, she did send those texts. I'm sorry, you didn't. It wasn't you that was sending those texts. It was Allison, wasn't it? She doesn't go from texting her mom to texting.
You don't care about paint chips or paint samples.
For all this, back to what I redundantly asked last night.
No, you can't have a cigarette.
There's no possible way.
You can't have a cigarette.
Not at all. All right.
Now, first of all, it's daytime. We got tons of brass around here. So in order for me to accommodate that, I can't help you there because that's going to get me in trouble.
Ooh.
Okay? If I could, I would. Back in the days when, we could do those kinds of things, I would gladly.
We used to have car wash guys that would detail to make our cruisers look even better, and we used to go to squares all the time.
I used to keep a pack of cigarettes in my briefcase. I didn't even smoke for just exactly these kinds of things, but we just can't do that anymore.
Really.
So let's talk about the text. Those came from Allison, right?
Yes.
Thank you. And in regards to the plan and the setup, she was doing all that texting.
She was doing the texting. My influence. I told her.
You were telling her what to say.
I wasn't telling her what to say. I just told her to play his game and convince him to meet us.
Okay. I don't believe for 1 minute that you intimidated her or threatened her because, you know what? When we look at your correspondence back and forth, you love her too much and she loved you too much, and there's no way that there's no way you threatened her. Absolutely no way.
You got no meanness towards her, Jay. None.
You didn't threaten her. You did not intimidate her. She acted of her own free will, didn't she? Because she was mad. She was upset.
And Pat's right. Everything we saw, there's no indication you were ever mad at her. A cross word, a hateful phrase, nothing.
She was the love of your life. You're not going to play that game with her. You're not going to force her to do something like that.
You write poems.
You didn't force her to do that. Right? Isn't that accurate, Jay?
She's not walking away from this.
No, she's not walking away from it. No, she's not. No, she's not. She's in every bit as much trouble as you were in. And there's nothing that you can do or say that's going to make her walk away. So you might as well just be honest and tell us the truth. She sent the messages without being intimidated, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you did not threaten her, did you?
No.
Okay. How many times did she stab him? Was it once?
Or was Sean correct?
All right, let me ask you this. I asked you this last night. Is it an accurate statement when Allison told Sean that she stabbed him 2 times and then she couldn't do it anymore? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Did she inflict any other injury? Did she use the club on him at all? Did she kick him? Did she do anything else?
No.
Did she speak to him, Jay? Did she say why? Did she tell him why? this was happening to him? You spoke to him, and you made it clear. Did she say why?
I don't recall exactly what she said.
Okay.
Do you remember the gist of what she said? Or pretty much what the idea was?
What was the message that she conveyed?
Basically she said something along the lines that, doesn't it hurt when someone else has control over you? Basically.
Okay. Did he respond to that?
If he did, it wasn't audible.
At what point was that? Was this at the trailer or is this underneath the tree?
This was under the tree.
Okay. Had she already stabbed him at this point?
I don't recall.
Okay. But you're sure she didn't hit him or do anything else?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else, Jay, that we didn't talk about or that we didn't ask or any other significant thing about what occurred that we should know? Let me ask you another question. And it really makes no difference. It doesn't make a darn bit of difference. But who hates him more, you or her?
I don't know. She's got more of a history with him.
Okay, but go ahead.
I mean, she has told me what, he has done back in the past.
But why now 2 years later?
Was it the baby?
That played a part in it. But when he first, he contacted her a few months ago. I don't know, he just...
Let me ask you this. Do you know for a fact that that's true, that he contacted her a few months ago?
I can't say for sure.
Okay.
I don't know, I just know that
Okay.
she was...
But do you know, think about this. And I mean, you don't have to kill somebody to make them leave you alone. Okay? There's these things called personal protection orders of which she's very familiar with because Sean put one on her. Did you know that?
Okay.
He did because she was stalking him, harassing him. He had a personal protection order against her. Sean, I'm sorry. Brandon did. Because she was obsessed. Remember we talked about those police reports? She was stalking him.
And readily admitted to the Kalamazoo City officer that she was obsessed with him. This was December of 07.
Do you think that this is a kind of situation where, could it be that she thinks that Brandon's happy and Brandon now is having a child and that she was just jealous of that whole entire situation?
There's more to it than that.
Is it? Okay.
Now, help us understand.
What is it?
Well, I don't know about these old police reports and whatnot.
Okay.
I know they had been together and, maybe things had worked out and, this was back when she thought she loved him or whatever. But I know that at some point he I don't know, maybe, I can't remember. I don't know if maybe they started dating again or something, but he was not.
So you're not even sure that he initiated contact with her 2 months ago. You're just going by what she said.
Correct.
So she could have made this whole thing up to get you all stirred up, mad, angry enough to help her carry out something?
I don't believe she would do that.
Okay. How, just answer me this, Jim, please. How, no, they were being truthful, how did you learn about the text? Did you find the phone and find the text, or did she show you the text and say, look at here's this number here, this is Brandon's number, and he's doing this to me again? How did you really truthfully find out about the text?
She had gotten a few texts from a number that wasn't stored in her phone. You know,
Incoming?
Incoming texts.
Okay.
You know, from what I remember, they're basically, you know, just, hey, how you doing, kind of, you know, long time no see
Okay.
type text, and she didn't know who it was. And I told her, you know, I mean, someone calls my phone, I want to find out who it is, so I told her, you know, we'll text them back, find out who it is, and when she found out who it was.
Who was
She, it was him.
Okay.
She had become upset, distraught, you know. And I'm like, okay, who is this guy? You know, and she tells me, well, this is the guy that I told you about, one of the, you know, because she's had some shitty relationships in the past, you know. When, you know, we open up to each other and we talk about our past, you know, so that we can try to avoid bringing that into our relationship. Oh, this is that, you know, the guy that I told you about. And, you know, I told her basically ignore it or tell him, you know, buzz off, whatever. I don't know how she handled it, you know, what she had said back to him, but they continued talking, and then, you know, I mean, I'm upset because this guy, who I don't think too highly of, is contacting, you know, the girl I'm with. And we came up with this stupid idea. You know.
Okay. When did you actually come up with the idea then?
I don't know.
I mean, a week, 2 weeks, month.
It had been a little while, yeah.
Had you actually tried to lure him in before?
Yeah, that was the plan.
You had tried to lure him before?
Yeah, that's
Where'd you try
that's
to lure
why
him?
they had stayed texting for the last few months.
Where did you try to lure him before?
At first, we were trying to get him to come to Kalamazoo to meet her,
Okay.
and for towards the beginning, he just he couldn't find time to make it to Kalamazoo,
Okay.
and then with my school and work schedules, it had to be a time where I wasn't working or going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And just none of the times that he would be in that area worked out. And that's when we ended up setting it up to meet him out there.
Okay. Let's get back to the injury that she inflicted. When she stabbed him, which knife did she use?
She used the butcher knife.
And where did she stab him?
She stabbed him in his left quad.
Both times?
First time.
So when you said that you stabbed him in the left quad, was that actually her?
Yes.
So she actually inflicted the first 2 stab wounds?
No.
Okay. Where'd the second one go? Well, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
I know I stabbed him several times.
Right.
I can't recall whether she stabbed him first or I stabbed him first.
But you know she stabbed him twice.
She stabbed him twice.
Do you know where?
I know the first time she stabbed him was in the left quad.
Do you know where the second one? Was it like boom, boom?
No,
It was like she did it once and then...
she did it once. You know, and then, you know, she paused and took a minute, you know.
Where'd the second one go?
I don't recall exactly in there.
Do you think it was in the lower area?
Yes, one of his legs.
Let me ask you this. Was his genital area ever stabbed?
If so, it wasn't. I didn't purposely try to stab him in that area, and she didn't purposely try to stab him in that area.
Do you think he got stabbed there?
It's possible. I had stabbed him quite a bit around his upper thighs.
Overall, what would be your best estimate as to how many times do you know how many times he was stabbed?
No,
How many times do you think he was stabbed? Your best guess, what would that be?
I stabbed him a lot. I don't know.
How many times?
20, 30 times. I don't know.
20 or 30 times?
I mean, a lot of them were just, you know, the stabs in the legs and, you know, just so that he could feel some pain, you know. And I know when I stabbed him in the ribs, I ended up stabbing him in the same spot several times from different angles.
Mm-hmm.
But the entry wound was right at the same spot.
Would you, when you say that, did you like stab him, pull the knife out, re-stab, pull the knife out?
No.
How did
I
that?
had stabbed, when I stabbed him in the ribs, and I had pulled a knife out. Now I had gone to stab him in his torso again. I just happened to catch the same area coming, you know.
You could see that well?
Yeah, I wasn't trying, I mean, it's not like I was trying to stab in the same spot. It's just, with the way he was laying, that was the most exposed spot, you know.
Was that an area where you had opened his shirt up to expose that area so you could see where you were stabbing him then?
All I could see was bloody clothes.
You couldn't actually see
I couldn't
the wounds
actually-
themselves.
No, not particularly, other than on his face and on his foot, when I cut his foot.
Did you sever his Achilles or did you,
I just stabbed it,
like, you just like took a knife and stabbed into it?
stabbed through it, I believe.
Through it? Okay. And then you guys sent someone, you or Allison, sent a fake text afterwards to make it look like he didn't show up, correct? Who sent that text?
I told her to send that text.
Okay, so that is one you
Because-
that is one you directed her to do.
Yes,
And why'd you do that?
because it had to look like he, you know, that she went to meet him, but he never showed up. That at some point he must have stopped at a convenience store or something, and maybe someone jacked him, robbed him, took him out in the middle of nowhere.
One other thing, Jay, about 12
12:20 in the morning, he received a text on his phone from his wife. Where are you, or whatever. There was a response text. Did someone send a response text on his phone to his wife?
I didn't.
What time did this happen? What time did you?
He was to meet her around 11 o'clock.
Okay, from start to finish. So then what? So did he get there right around 11 o'clock?
It was right around that time, yes.
Okay, from start to finish, from the time that he meets her, she shows up at the trailer. Now the clock is ticking. From the time that you first hit him in the head, or the first blow that you give him with the club, to the time that you're leaving the scene, how long a time?
About an hour and 45 minutes.
And you know that how?
Because it was 12:44 when I noticed the clock. After I ran back to the car and we started driving. Within a few minutes being in the car, I noticed it was 12:44.
Okay.
Is it possible that Allison sent that text on his phone to his wife?
Yes, it's possible.
Because somebody.
I had her hold on to his phone. But she had his phone because I was taking care of other things.
Okay, so you didn't do it. He certainly didn't do it.
At 12:20.
Correct? So she had to have.
And she knows how he talks to people on texting. She knows his verbiage. Probably in the past has known how he talks to his wife. Because it was short. It said, I'm busy. Does that sound familiar now?
Did you know she sent that text? She didn't tell you that the wife had sent a text and she responded to it?
If she had, I don't recall.
Okay. All right. One other thing that I wanted to run by you. Jay, have you ever been involved in anything like this ever before?
No.
Never. So you went from here to here all in one night. Okay.
Jay, when we were talking in Jackson, you talked about getting home and watching the news, and you saw it on the news after you got to work, and you said we better get on about getting rid of this stuff. The 5 o'clock news on Saturday. I think you said you might have been on the internet checking the news sites. Did you mention that? You looked it up on the internet too? If people were.
I don't think we did Saturday. I know we did Saturday.
Okay.
And that was with Allison's computer.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the sites that you were looking at? Which ones?
I think it was WOTV4 or Channel 8 maybe.
All right.
Okay. Do you have any questions of us, Jay? You want a glass of water or something? Okay. It's cold water. It's burning back there. You want one?
Do you have any questions for us, Jay?
All I can ask is your opinion on this. But with something like this, it usually gets life without, right?
Well, that is a possibility. I mean, we're a long ways from that as far as time frame. Because the justice system does not move swiftly, right?
Right.
Okay. Things can happen between now and then. I will say, based on what you have told us, that it would appear that murder one is more than likely what you'll be found guilty of. That would be my opinion. Okay? Not a guarantee, it's not a promise. That would be my opinion. Okay? And that's the best I can do.
But even with murder one, they don't necessarily always give life without parole, right?
Murder one is life without parole.
It is.
But those are things that you'll be assigned an attorney this afternoon. Okay? After you're arraigned, you will be assigned an attorney. And those are things that you need to discuss with him or her. Okay? We're not trying to cut you off. We're just telling you we have to draw a line at somewhere when it comes time for legal. Number one, we can't give legal advice. Okay? And, because it wouldn't behoove you for us to give you legal advice. So, that's something that we have to, stay away from.
I got a couple of things. One, George in South Bend, and obviously Sean. At some point, I'm going to talk to these guys. What do you want me to tell them?
Just let them know, I'm sorry for involving him.
Like tossing a turd.
However minutely, I still.
Because they love you, man. Both of them do. And I just, they're concerned. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing that you're mad at them at all for them basically having a burden that they couldn't carry and talking to us.
They've got families, they don't need this.
Okay. And just help me, because when you went to Indiana and you dropped the speaker off, George didn't have any idea whose speaker that was. And you took ownership and said, it's our speaker and it's safe for you to have. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
All right. And Sean, up until when Allison went over and told him what she had told him on, I believe, Thanksgiving night, when she went over, had to get away from Dad, and she went to, I think it was Thanksgiving night, he didn't know anything up until that point, and that came from Allison about what had happened. I don't know. You tell me.
From my understanding, yes.
Okay. But you never told
I
him.
never told him. He had come to visit me in the county before Thanksgiving, and up until then, he didn't say anything about knowing anything.
Okay. But before incarceration, after the fact, you didn't tell Sean anything. Okay.
We didn't tell anybody anything.
All right. So when I see these guys, you love them, but there's no animosity. You're not mad at them because they're carrying a lot, guy, and I think that would help if I could sit down and tell both of them that you understood when you said they got family, and he just at their doorstep. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I got two more questions for you, and then as far as I'm concerned, I'm done. Remember, and this is just kind of like laying the cards on the table for you, okay? Remember we talked about some things, that potential DNA things at the scene. One of them is a cigarette butt. Did you smoke while you were there?
No.
You did not smoke while you
I
were
did
there.
not smoke at all.
Did Allison smoke while she was there? Because there was a cigarette butt that was right by the driveway that still had the ash on it. So
It had to have been his.
He doesn't smoke.
he doesn't smoke.
There's no.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
Wait, at the travel trailer?
Yeah.
Okay, before she left, I think I might have smoked a cigarette.
Where did you drop this? Do you remember?
Flicked it, something.
Okay.
But during, once she left
Okay.
to go meet him, I knew not to, I guess.
All right. One other question.
This is kind of an unusual one. I was going to ask.
This is a very unusual question, but my feeling is this: is that were you nervous?
Quite.
Okay. And what we found down one of those trails, there's a little trail that goes right behind their trailer. What we found down there is some like Kleenex tissue, and it had some feces in it. Did you have to go to the bathroom?
No, I don't. Yeah,
That's not you?
no.
Somebody
No, I did urinate next door before they had got there,
Okay.
but
no.
no.
Well, it's got, okay, because there was a piece of toilet tissue or a Kleenex, and actually had feces in it, and within that feces was hair. Was there anybody else out there with you?
No.
Because that hair has the root on it, and that's going to give the DNA. And it appeared to be fairly fresh. And you're sure there was nobody else out there with you?
I'm positive.
Okay.
And it was fairly close. And it was very recent. Just kind of odd.
You know, it looks like after that trailer park closed up, Jay, somebody was there and couldn't, because they winterize those units and the plumbing's turned off, and it looks like somebody got a little antsy, went out in the woods, went to the bathroom, wiped, and then discarded. And the weather, that toilet paper will break down in weather very quickly. So that wasn't you.
No.
Cigarette might be,
A cigarette might be.
but the other's not you.
Did you tell me Newport's in a box?
Okay, I got nothing else.
I got, okay. You got anything of us?
No. Can you guys tell me what all the evidence that you have? Or
Well, you've seen a lot of it.
yes, but
We've got, there's things that the DNA is a big thing. A lot of that's, and it's unusual what DNA can be found on, like duct tape and,
Obviously, we've got a print.
and there was duct,
We haven't gotten the results back yet.
the duct tape.
from the duct.
From the duct tape, yeah. From his mouth.
Because he went face down and it was protected. It didn't burn.
Within the layers, there's a print. But we haven't gotten the results back yet. Is that more than likely going to be yours?
So that's, and the first set of prints that we took from you, we didn't like the chain of command. We had a retiree from here do them, and then we're thinking that's not good. That's why we brought the state police down and they redid them.
The quality of them weren't good enough for them too.
Yeah, so
Because if you looked, they were missing spaces like
And
this.
so-
So
plus the fact, it's the state lab's doing the print, and look at them, and it was just better. It was tighter. That's why we did the second set.
okay.
Okay.
Let me see what we can do about getting you house back there. Okay, get you out of there. All right.
Well,
Those are your clips, Mom.
oh,
Did
sure.
you have a key?
I got a key and I got no gun on it, so lucky.
Alison Martin and Justin Terpstra were both convicted of murder. They were each sentenced to life without parole.